Hello, and welcome to Simple Life Philosophy. I'm your host, Ed Raby. This is the channel where we're following me along on my journey to find a philosophy of life that is both simple to understand and simple to execute. Today, before I get into what today's video is about, make sure you like the video, make sure you share it, and sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Every little bit helps as I continue to grow the channel and continue to work my way towards my own philosophy of life that is simple. And in so doing, finding a simpler life in which I'm more productive and feel more at peace. Today, we're going to continue on our Stoic Viking meditations over meta series and continuing our little mini series here on the Nine Noble Virtues. And today, we're tackling the virtue of hospitality. Now, hospitality in modern culture usually refers to things like hotels, restaurants, where people have to be hospitable and take care of people and things like that. And there's a lot of truth to that. But the virtue of hospitality doesn't really have much to do necessarily with business, so much as it has to do with an attitude towards people who may be in need or who are travelers. The virtue of hospitality, as stated in the Nine Noble Virtues, reads like this: I share hearth, food, and drink with my friends, my kindred, and the weary traveler at my door. Okay, so there's three targets of this, but let's take a look. I share. Okay. Hospitality targets our natural desire to be possessive, to think that we hold and control things. Now, here's the painful, awful truth. Really, we can have things in our life temporarily. Maybe we purchased them, maybe somebody's given them, but nothing in our lives is permanent. Nothing in our lives is ever going to stay there. What hospitality teaches as far as a virtue is the ability to let go, the ability to have the power to not have some object have power over us. It was this revelation about the discipline, the virtue of hospitality, that led me to more of an essentialism, minimalism like philosophy that kind of echoed together. Okay, it brought them together. Because for me, the act of sharing is something that allows a person to let go of possessiveness, to let go of trying to hoard things for yourself. I think if there's, if greed has one quality, it's hoarding without giving away. Um, it That to me more defines greed than just hoarding. Okay, if somebody becomes a billionaire, for instance, but they spend a good chunk of their money creating charities, trying to help the poor, doing things, they give a good chunk of their money away, or they invested in more things that will help mankind and things like that. To me, that's not a bad billionaire. Okay, all billionaires have their quirks, and I'm not against them. Okay, I think it's interesting when you have a lot of money what you really can achieve because it's in your control to do it. The problem with like governments and things to collectively achieve something, we always argue about stuff, and so we never get anywhere. Whereas a single individual who has a lot of resources can usually get farther down the road and accomplish more than a single individual alone without that money. Okay, or a bunch of us together who just don't have it all together. Okay, but sharing is what undercuts greed, and hospitality demands of us that we share. Okay, and what does it demand we share? It demands we share hearth. Now, the idea of hearth I had to look into quite a bit. The idea of hearth is a hearth is a fireplace, okay? But the idea of hearth is you're sharing a warm place to rest, to sleep, to recover. You're sharing the place where you go to do those things like it's your home. It's your home, so you invite somebody into your home to share hearth with them, okay? To share warmth, to share rest, maybe provide them a place to sleep, okay? This is kind of an essential thing, a place of safety, okay? So helping people feel safe, feel secure, feel warm. If you were to talk, say, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basically you're trying to hit that bottom part, that security, food, water kind of issue, okay, with the discipline of, with the virtue of hospitality. Because virtue, this is always going to be a good thing if you're helping someone face their basic needs, because then it allows them to grow and be better. Um, I think one of the great tragedies of Western society is we have lost this. Okay, there used to be a time where the idea of sharing one's hearth and home and food and water was very much the norm. These days, I don't know, maybe because of certain things, maybe even because of COVID, maybe because of everything, we kind of hoard stuff together. And one of the challenges for me personally, as I get into gardening at this moment, is what am I growing all this food for? Well, part of it's for me, but there's certainly going to come a point where I will have extra that I won't be able to use. So at that point, it's about sharing that with somebody else. That's hospitality. Hospitality is about giving, it's about taking from your abundance and giving it to others as a way of letting go of possessiveness. Because the truth is, everything we have will someday not exist, just like everything I have in myself will someday not exist. And so letting go and learning to realize that things come and go in your life. And I don't, I'm an atheist, so I don't really believe in karma either, okay, because I've watched good people get the shaft and never really recover. And I've watched evil people prosper and never face justice. So if karma exists, she's kind of fickle, quite a bit fickle in my opinion. So I just don't believe that karma always works. In fact, I don't even really think it exists. But what I do believe is that your reputation as a hospitable person has its benefits. Okay, we've looked at these other courage and discipline and fidelity and honor. Those are all things that are about being faithful to your relationships, being faithful to your word. This is about being faithful with your stuff. Okay, this is about looking around you and saying, okay, I have a relationship with this person or not. I honor my oaths with them, but one of my oaths is to myself. I'm going to follow the nine noble virtues. I'm going to show hospitality. I'm going to share my hearth, my food, and drink with my friends, okay, my kindred, and the weary traveler at my door. Now, there's three things there. Friends. I think when it comes to home and hearth, it's interesting that this virtue puts friends first. Like when you look at fidelity, it puts family before friends. Now, maybe that's just the wording, but I think it is significant because when I think about hearth and relaxing and sharing food and drink with my friends, sharing food and drink in general, I think of my friends first. And I think it's because those friendship companionships are sometimes stronger than ones of family. And a lot of that is bonding. Um, I remember listening to several people talk about in years past that, I remember hearing a woman who was a strong feminist say, well, I'm not going to cook for any man. And I think they missed the point of cooking and serving and things like that. It isn't about male dominance or female dominance. It's about being a human being. And I don't know if people realize the power that there is in creating friendships over a meal. I look back and most of the friendships I have acquired have been as we've been sitting at a table sharing lunch, or I've been invited to their house, we share food, and it's all this. And some of my lifelong friends, I have one lifelong friend that's very close. Some of our best moments have been sitting over a meal and talking and reminiscing and doing the things that we do. There's a power in that, in hospitality. And I think so many people look at that as such a menial thing, but a person who can give a place to rest, give a place of safety, give away their food and their drink to someone has a tremendous power there. And I think too many people don't realize that attitude, oh, I'm not going to serve a man, or I'm not going to serve a woman, or I'm not going to serve anybody, I'm going to serve myself. That's fine. I'm not against selfishness as a way. We're going to talk more about that when we get to self-reliance. But there comes a point where you can have a tremendous amount of positive power in a person's life and change their life simply by being generous. And that can be to your friends, to your kindred. Now, kindred, remember, that's your community. Really, this virtue doesn't mention family, but I think fidelity kind of hits that. But this one is like You know, share with your community, share with your, have that power, that ability to give away. If you're a good producer, if you're industrious, like we'll talk about in the next virtue, you're going to produce stuff, okay? Probably more than you need. The power is giving it away. The power is saying, I'm not going to let this thing possess me. I have power over it. It doesn't have power over me. And so I'm going to give it away and thus show that I have power over it. Okay? And the weary traveler adored. I have to mention this point because I think one thing that's kind of frustrating in society is the idea of the weary traveler stumbling into town, having no place to stay. He's trying to get from point A to point B for some reason. It's none of our business, really. He intends us no harm, but he has no place to stay, and he has no food, for whatever circumstances. And stranger danger that we were taught as kids, I don't know, my generation wasn't really taught that, but later generations were, has undercut that because, when you really look at the statistics, 99.9% of people are decent people. Okay, it's that small criminal element that gets all the attention. And, there's ways to protect yourself while being hospitable. Okay, there are. And I think if you set something up, I think you can do it. For myself personally, I'm not so much, I'm in a position right now where I'm meeting my own needs and I don't have a lot of extra. And that bothers me because I want to exercise hospitality. And to do that, I have to, be more industrious, which we'll talk about next time, or learn to be more self-reliant, persevere in getting what I want. And, there's a lot of these virtues that are coming up that kind of mold together and shape together to get us where we need to be. And so the weary traveler at my door is, what happens if I do run into somebody that's, I don't know, a stranger, that's in genuine need? I can determine that they're in genuine need. What do I do if I have the means to help them? How much, it's okay to help my friends. It's okay to help my community. It's okay to help my family, people I know and care about. But the real challenge of hospitality is when you don't know that person, you don't really care about them, other than you care about their basic humanity. And this is really the real goal of hospitality, to get us back down to the human level, where we all understand I could be in that position. And if I was in that position, this is what I would want to happen. Okay, this is what I would want to see happen. I think there's a little Rawls in there, but I'm not always sure about him because he always seems to end on a certain side of the philosophical equation. But he does make a good point. If you were in that position, what would you want available to help you? Well, I would want people that are ready to rally around me as a human being and lend me a hand. And I've had those people. I was homeless for about a week, and it was just a circumstantial thing where I couldn't get into the dorm of the school I was staying in for a week, and I ended up going home a week early thinking I could. And so I ended up kind of, not really on the streets, but kind of wandering through the campus without really any place to stay except the cafeteria. It was really a weird situation, and I thought it was interesting that a Christian college would do that to people, but there it is. And so I ended up, falling on the good graces of a few strangers that really helped me out. And so I've never forgotten that. And so hospitality kind of hits close because I know its power. There's a tremendous power in the ability to provide a place to stay, to provide food to eat when somebody's hungry, to provide drink when they're thirsty, and to do that whether they're family, friends, your community, or even a stranger. Sometimes it's the people we don't know that we need to ask ourselves the question, how human are we being towards just other humans that we don't even know? It's a good question. Well, if you have any other thoughts on hospitality, I'd be glad to hear them in the comments. Once again, this has been Simple Life Philosophy. I've been your host, Ed Raby, as we've been talking about the virtue, one of the 9 noble virtues, the 5th virtue of hospitality. And, just like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this sort of content. Make sure you get your notification bell, and I'll always welcome comments that are apropos to the discussion. So if you have any thoughts on hospitality, make sure you let me know them, because I'm always interested in thinking about these things and learning more. Thank you for stopping by once again. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you fill your life with hospitality. Learn to both give it and receive it. And I'll catch you next time. So you have a great day.